What's up, ASL? It is Brad and Ian.
Hey, ASL.
Sorry, today is going to be a little bit unconventional with a Pokemon Commissioner Bowl, but we're trying to do something hopefully you'll enjoy. So we're here together recording a quick little video. We're going to run through kind of the teams we made, what our prep ideas were, kind of how we were feeling, how the match went and our closing thoughts. So I thought I'd start us off on a neutral page with just kind of the standings recap for anybody who watches our videos but isn't in a server. Um, it's your standard ASL season, pretty close. The second seeded team is only 2 games away from the 12th seeded team. So playoff race is going to be tight. The MVP leaderboard is unusual, but that's not really unusual for us anymore, certainly. But two of the top four ranked Mons potentially going to face off in this game, Ian.
Yeah, quite excited to see how that pans out.
So we'll go first to your team, and you can walk us through what you had and what you were expecting.
Okay, so looking at the teams and preview on your 12 months that you have on your roster, something that really stood out to me was that uh, certain threats of mine, primarily Cortana, uh, probably didn't really have a really good matchup in this game. Um, you had a lot of counters for it, especially Steelix, who could just swap in as many times as needed, basically, to wall me. And you had threats like Blaziken, Mega Pidgeot, um, so on. Even Latios, who could probably one shot Katana with ease.
Hmm.
And so I was actually not even planning to bring Cortana in the first place. But another mod of yours which really kind of scared me was Aromatisse.
Yeah.
Because on preview I thought a setup Aromatisse could actually destroy my team because I would not be able to break that as I'm quite limited on setup mons. Primarily, my primary setup is basically Cortana or Diancie, and
Hmm.
uh, so I had to bring Cortana to deal with that threat potentially. Uh, Besides that, Crobat was going to be my key mon in this game because it was scoffed, and with scoff, it basically outspeeds +2 Blaziken
Hmm.
and scoff Latios, obviously, zero aura as well, and yeah, lots of threats that it could deal with, and I was keeping that one for late game if need be. Slowking with the Wakanberry was meant to deal with Blaziken primarily. I didn't really have a good Blaziken answer for this game. Most of my walls were either weak to fire or fighting, so
Hmm.
Slowking had to come. Could deal with knockoff, even at +2 wasn't a problem. So I had the Wakan just so I could probably deal with Zero Aura as well, uh, with the Plasma Fist if need be and get some chip. Future Sight, always annoying to play against.
Yeah.
It and Yawn as well. This two could probably uh, throw off someone your momentum. That was my strategy for this game. Uh, Deontay, kill leader for me this season. Um, I didn't really have that much going on for it. I thought Moonblast and Earth Power dealt with your team in most parts decently. Uh, Obviously, I had to chip the Steelix down a bit before I could, or the Manaphy before I could probably use it effectively. Type Null, standard easy break for almost every game. Uh, in this case, meant to deal with that Latios. Uh, Gorgeist, a bit of a funny story. My next 2 months, I kind of messed them up in terms of prep. Curse was not supposed to be there. because obviously Gorgeist is a ghost type and it doesn't give this setup. I thought I removed that, but it turns out it was still there. Uh, but Cobra Berry, yeah, obviously I was, and the Rock Slide, I was trying to, if Pidgeot was going to come for this game, I was planning on maybe a sneaky revenge kill, or yeah. And Kartana, and yeah, the defensive Gorgeist was meant to deal with Zero Aura or Steelix or even Serena if it didn't have any attack investment. Kartana, again, I messed it up in terms of the um, IVs because I forgot to remove the IVs. So it was mid attack, but it had 31 IVs, so it didn't get the speed boost as I wanted it to. So it was kind of useless in this game. Uh, so yeah, that was basically my team. I should have probably looked through my team the second time, but yeah, that's what I got basically to deal with your threats.
So I can say when I was working through prep, I mean, I knew Slow King was coming. That had to come because Blaziken, uh, otherwise, just seemed like it ate your team alive. Um, I actually was surprisingly thinking to myself, okay, I know you're going to bring Scarf, and the Scarf that made the most sense to me was probably Crobat because it's going to outspeed Blaziken even if I brought Protect. So I that the Scarf Crobat was actually something I was kind of thinking I would probably have to deal with. Um, so it was funny that I actually ended up seeing that and figuring that out during the match. I also was in prep thinking to myself that Pidgeot did seem to do a really nice job against most of your team. Um, but I actually was thinking Koba Rock Slide from Gorgeist could come, surprise my Pidgeot, and potentially take it away from me, along with Piloswine generally just kind of being a hard swap and being a U-turn point for me. Um, so there were a few things that I was worried about in that match. Always, of course, Deontay, because if you don't prep for Deontay, you generally lose to Deontay. So what
Yeah.
I came up with was my expert belt Blaziken with Thunder Punch, Close Combat, Protect, and Sword Stance. And even though I knew Gorgeist was potentially coming and thought it would potentially show up, I still wanted Protect and Sword Stance in the hope that I could Sword Stance one turn, live a hit, Protect a second turn to get the double speed boost, and at that point feel fairly comfortable I was outspeeding everything if I found out the Crobat wasn't scarfed. Um, and then my Zeraora with kind of just a lot of attacks. I ran the Lum thinking if you run Scald Slowking, I could just arrogantly swap Zeraora right into its face and have immediate pressure and not really worry about the burn. And I could maybe even do it a couple of times as long as you don't get the burn right away. So Lum maybe wasn't the most optimal item, but it allowed me to just arrogantly pursue pressure, which I always like to do. And then
Yep.
Manaphy was your typical, resto chesto. You're not going to kill this thing in one hit with anything. That was kind of
Yep.
my basic Manaphy plan of just make it to where there's really nothing you could do to get rid of it right away. Um, and it can annoy with knockoff U-turn. Those obviously aren't going to go do 50% to nothing, but I felt like your team was fairly item dependent with like the Piloswine with the Type Null, with the Kartana really liking its item, the Gudra typically likes
Yeah.
its item. So I wanted to take a lot of items in this match. Serena was I would say it was kind of my plan to deal with Diancie with the assault vest, with the physical defense, but so was kind of Manaphy. I just kind of brought them both, honestly, because Diancie's that kind of worrisome. So I brought both Mons. The Rapid Spin, I don't even know why I'm bringing it. I didn't really think you would set up hazards, but I thought just in case I could swap it on. But I wanted to bring another knockoff user and just knock off everything. That was like the theme of my team. I wanted it just to be to knock off everything. Um, and then I did bring the Scarf Latios because I was afraid if you didn't bring Scarf Crobat, it would be Scarf Cartana. And uh, that mon is just instant loss if you're not faster than it sometimes. So,
Yeah.
and then of course Steelix was meant to help with Cartana, but also to help with Deontay. My main fears were Embor. I didn't have a whole lot for Embor, um,
Yeah.
and Gudra. I was really worried that you were going to bring like a mixed offensive Gudra, um, because I just blatantly kind of ignored it. I just thought I had enough offense to kind of deal with it, and I could probably pivot into a couple of things. But I didn't feel
Yeah.
like Gudra or Embor were coming. But if they did, they were going to be a problem unless I killed them quickly.
Yeah.
So,
Udra was on my early team, and I actually took it off
yeah,
for, I think, was it Gorgeist? It might have been Gorgeist.
yeah. I knew I could kill Gudra, um, but it wasn't going to be fun, in the process. So,
Yeah.
all right, what team preview here? What did you lead, and why did you lead it?
Can't remember.
you led you led Crobat, um, and I led Serena. Um,
Yeah.
I very nearly led Zeraora, um, thinking that you potentially would lead Crobat for U-turn. But because I was
Yeah.
kind of expecting Scarf Crobat, I really didn't want to just take like a chunky U-turn like right off the bat because I didn't have momentum on my Zeraora.
Yeah.
Um, so I decided to lead Serena, and actually kind of just hope that you would maybe just Brave Bird right in my face if you did lead Crobat, so I could just kill it turn one and not have to worry about it. And oddly enough, that actually played out for me in that I did get the Crobat lead and I did get the Serena lead, and I did click triple axle, but you didn't click the Brave Bird.
Yeah, I was expecting triple axle, and I was expecting a bulky boy, and I wanted to play safe just to check your sets. And I found out that you did have investment, so
Yeah.
that was a good move on my part to not take the silly risk.
Yeah, and then we both learned a lot there. I mean, I could tell Crobat was obviously fairly offensive, and Slowking was obviously, max HP, max defense based on kind of those two turns. You swapped out into
Yeah.
Gourgeist on my Serena, which surprised
Yeah.
me, but I thought you maybe would go right back into Crobat to take the Power Whip, and luckily I miss my triple axle.
Yeah, because I swapped in because when I took the hit on Slow King, I figured out that that Serena did not have any attack investment.
Mhm.
So I know that my Gorgeist could take that hit. I think on damage calculator it was doing a max of 52.
Mhm.
And I think there was like a 0.4% chance of like a 2-hit KO, 4% chance of
Yeah.
2-hit KO, something like that. So I knew that I had synthesis as well. So
Well,
if need be, I could probably synthesis back up, and I outsped it as well. So
it became a
that was
zero
my thought
percent
process.
chance really fast.
Yeah,
Um, so
that was
then
true.
I, looking at this team, decided I didn't want to deal with Gourgeist, and I didn't plan to sack Serena so early on because it was one of my Deontay answers, but I just kind of felt in that vein and went for it. So I triple axled again. Was surprised to see the curse, and luckily I have now missed two turns in a row, and I'm gonna take a chunky 25 from curse. So although curse wasn't your plan, it put on a lot of
Yeah,
pressure early on.
yeah, it did. I wasn't planning on having curses. I thought I swapped it out for like Will O Wisp, but curse was still there. And in this case, uh, I didn't want to risk anything else swapping into Serena,
Hmm.
because if we did have the triple axle microbat, that would not have been nice, or like something like a knockoff on a type null, or
Hmm.
even a power whip on slow king. So I thought Chris was probably one way I could put some pressure in that Serena.
And I mean, I think there's a reasonable argument to say it very much worked. Partially because my Serena is absolutely blind. Um, and I mean, 25% of turns a lot, especially when you can synthesis up before I can hit
Yeah,
you. So, you could have just stayed in the face, kept synthesizing, and just let me
yeah,
go. You did choose to poltergeist, which brought me down close, and I U-turned. Um, I mostly U-turned because I didn't want to lose Serena. I wanted to preserve it to sack later on, and I knew I could pretty well kill Gorgeist with anything at this point.
yeah. I had to go for the poltergeist there because I thought you were going to predict my synthesis and may have swapped into a Blaziken or something and just set up in my face.
Yeah,
So I had to put some pressure at least
yeah.
to not allow the switch in.
So ultimately, I decided Latios. I could have went Zero Aura there, but I went Latios because one, Latios could kill Gorgeist with essentially any move it wanted to click. Um, but two, I really wanted to force Deontay on the field. I didn't want Deontay waiting till late game. I didn't want to face Deontay in like turn 30 and 40. Like I really wanted to get it on the field early, um, to potentially go ahead and get rid of it. Which, of course,
Mhm.
didn't happen at all, because you know Type Null is ridiculously bulky. Because that's a modest. I do believe I put modest. Yeah, no, timid. Okay, so that's a timid Draco Meteor from 130, and it takes 27%, which is just a disappointing
Yeah,
number. But I mean,
that's a bulky boy.
yeah,
I just wanted to figure out your set just to make sure that you were not specs or anything. So yeah,
I go ahead and take my Serena card and just decide that now's the time. Dying to your U-turn, which actually gains me momentum, so I was okay with that. Um, and then I just kill your Gorgeist, which was nice considering, I seemed to miss it with everything. I was almost afraid I would miss it with knockoff.
yeah.
Deontay versus Zero. So this is a really fun turn, right here. What were you thinking, in this particular turn?
So what I was thinking was, I knew that I think Plasma Fist would not have, if I stayed in my base form, I think it wouldn't be a 2-hit KO.
Hmm.
So I had one rock polish in me before it's mega,
Yeah.
and I knew I could put some pressure, but I think personally I rushed this turn a little too much because I was a bit afraid of what the Zero Aura could do,
Hmm.
and I was afraid of it being a setup Zero Aura,
Right.
like a bulk up or something like that. So I wanted to get it off the field or put as much put as much damage as possible on it. In hindsight, probably Moonblast would have been better. Uh, Maybe not a rock polish so soon,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's what I went with it that time.
I was thinking to myself, this is the perfect time for Deontay to set up because I can't kill it with one hit with my move set, but I knew you couldn't kill me in one move, and Manaphy needed a hit on Deontay to be in, Scald range, unless you calm minded, and then we were gonna play some shenanigans. You couldn't kill Steelix because it's sturdy, so I decided I'm gonna risk, taking 80% because I thought you would click a setup move of some variant. Um,
Yeah.
and that's ultimately kind of exactly what happened. And luckily, you didn't click Calm Mind, so I felt confident enough just to go directly into Manaphy, because I knew Scald would kill, and you Earth Powered. Yeah. So
Yeah, I
29%.
was planning on the Combine, but I panicked and I went out power.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really happy to see that it wasn't Calm Mind. I mean, it would have ultimately been fine, but I wouldn't have been happy about the amount of damage I would have had to have taken.
Yeah,
Um, but then we ended up with Deoncy and Manaphy here, and I thought there was a chance in this particular turn you would swap out because I didn't think you would want to sacrifice your Deoncy this early on. But I also thought there was a chance you would stay because I didn't think you would get a chance to rock polish again in the future. Um, and so I was conflicted, but ultimately
yeah.
decided, I believe,
So
to go
actually,
scald.
what happened here was I was actually planning on combining the turn before.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was planning on combining the turn before. So on my damage calculator, I was already at +1.
Hmm.
So I kind of took Scald or Surf comfortably, but without knowing, without checking the calculators, actually, yeah, I put the wrong inputs in. So I was calculating it +1 instead of 0.
And ultimately, so we
So
see
big brain for it.
a Calm Mind come out to get you at 1-1. I get the scald.
Yeah.
I get the burn. Um, at this point, I knew there was nothing you could do. You wouldn't swap out because you lose all these boosts and still only have one turn later on. So I just clicked
Yeah.
the rest. Comfortably lived the Moonblast and felt pretty good at this moment. Um, what did you think when you saw
Yeah, I
the
wasn't
when
feeling
you
good
saw
at this
when you
moment.
saw the rest pop off? What did you think?
Yeah, flipped my table.
Oh, I was so happy because I'm like, oh, the burn him is just gonna be just enough. I'm just gonna rest and just call it a day. Okay, but it does put me in a bad spot because the Cartana.
Yeah.
My biggest fear in this turn was you were going to sword stance. I was really worried, and I very nearly just attacked you directly because I thought you would potentially sword stance, but ultimately I went out into Steelix, and you over predicted a
Yeah.
little bit, I think.
Yeah, I thought you were going to predict my sword stance and go into something like a Blaziken
Hmm.
instead of the Celix.
Yeah.
But yeah, I over predicted that one.
And in all truth, this is really where the game began. Turn 13 is really where we first started to play. Um,
Yeah.
because I should have stealth rocked, but I body pressed in case you decided to be dumb with Cartana. And then we turned into this yawn kind of slow king, which luckily I had U-turn, so I could just kind of start a cycle here. But slow king was pretty comfortable just staying on the field and doing like yawn future sight things. Um,
Yeah.
I did trick, to which I will admit I immediately regretted. I was not happy because at that moment I did not realize I kind of tricked and then was like, wait a minute, Cartana could still be the Scarfer. Um, or it could be double Scarf even. I was like, that is not. I regret that. Went out into Steelix because Titanol never touches Steelix in any world. And we just kind of repeat this cycle again. And
And
crit.
I've got juicy crit.
Yeah, why not, right? Why not at this point?
Not the juiciest crit in this game.
The crit actually concerned me legitimately because depending upon the move set from Cartana, that could affect a roll from a Leaf Blade
Yeah.
and no longer allow me to live. So I actually was relatively disappointed by that crit because 2 Leaf Blades killed me now, whereas I didn't think it did before.
Yeah.
So here I actually was like, I wonder if I can get my scarf back because I was um, kind of upset that I lost it. I actually do get it back. which is kind of dumb, but I was disappointed. And then luckily you were generous enough to allow me to have it back.
It was.
And again, like I said earlier, the game really began when Slow King got here, and we just cycled for a little while.
Yeah, it went back and forth for like 10 turns or so.
Yeah,
Basically the same future sight yawn combo.
yeah. I did finally get into the Zero Aura pretty safe and click knockoff. And knockoff I felt was just so good against your whole team because it took a berry or it took a really important item. Um, I felt really good about that. But was surprised to see you stay in. I thought you would probably swap out, but having the con made a lot more sense once I saw the item.
Yeah. So I was hoping to get some chip on it so Crobat could do something to it later on.
Yeah,
And the chip is quite good at this point.
exactly. Was happy to take the Evilite. That was a feels good moment.
Mm.
But here we are, yet again. I scalded just hoping for the burn. Like, I thought about resting, but I was at 61. It just wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm never going to burn ever, even though I just keep scalding. It's pointless. I did click knockoff on that turn, hoping you would Swords Dance and I could just go ahead and take your item. Obviously, that didn't happen.
Yeah. I did have a variant before this, which was a sub speed boost set.
Hmm.
So sub speed boost, sub sword stance, leaf blade, and smart strike. But then I removed the sub for the whatever the fighting move is,
Yeah, Sacred
sacred
Sword.
sword. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, yeah.
Which was probably
But I
the
think
right
the
call.
subset would have been better for me.
I don't know. Steelix probably would have shut down that subset relatively hard.
Yeah, but I think at this point of the game, the sub would have been
Yeah.
better off for me. Yeah, considering the difference between the leaf blade and the sacred sword wasn't that much anyway with stab.
I felt a lot better about that Draco Meteor than I did on the Titanal Draco Meteor. 50% is pretty chunky.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
and you
hope
just
that
could take.
you would potentially sack the Slow King, even though I didn't think you would, so I just went ahead and Dracoed again.
Yeah, I went to slow king so that he could regen at least half of that back, and then Time Null could probably take a dampened version of it.
Yeah. This was actually a really tough turn for me. Um, because in my mind, I felt we were squarely in late game. I didn't think there was any reason to continue to kind of jump back and forth and pivot back and forth. So I actually clicked Stealth Rocks here, hoping to get damage on your continual pivoting and your Crobat, but that obviously didn't happen.
Yeah,
And then finally,
and,
Titanal.
and then I swapped because I wanted to get HP back on slow king.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Slooking dies right away. Which,
And then
is
it died.
definitely disappointing from the crit. What were you trying to do there? Were you gonna like yawn, or what was your thought?
Yeah, I was going to yawn
Hmm.
and then put some pressure on you, and probably going to Cartana.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but I think at that point it was a bit too. It wasn't going to work out either way.
yeah.
It was
And having the Lumberry, I was pretty okay with whatever it is you were going to do because you weren't going to kill me with Surf. Future
yeah,
Sight was Future Sight, and Yawn, I still had the Lumberry intact, so I was totally cool with just staying in front of you and taking whatever it is you were gonna do. Um, it was unfortunate
yeah,
that you didn't get to do it, but it didn't change what I was doing
yeah,
regardless because of the presence of the Lumberry.
yeah,
Um, Still wanted to just be safe and take that item, which I did. Leaf Blade did not kill Zeraora, which is a little disappointing.
Yeah. That Cortana was such a fail of a set, as
It,
it was a negative attack, but it didn't get the speed boost,
yeah,
so it was just crippled in every way possible.
it's just like the worst possible outcome.
Uh,
Yeah, and with the Brave Bird damage and the Psyshock,
yeah, I
that's
needed a crit. The crit with the crit, it would have been a 50% roll, I think,
yeah.
according to the damage calc.
And
So I really needed that crit.
I couldn't afford any HP investment into my Latios because although I do hate speed ties, I wanted to speed tie, um, and so I was max speed, which almost never happens.
Yeah.
And that's it. 39 turns, so we had a
Yeah.
pretty long game for my roster.
It was, and Blaziken and Mega Deontay did not do anything in this game.
Now
I did. And Blaziken came, didn't have to, but
Blaziken never touched the field. Um,
yeah.
so and Deontay didn't get a kill either, I don't think.
No.
So despite being number 3 and number 4, they end the day having accomplished nothing.
Yep.
Well,
Uh,
in
it
the
is how it
end,
is.
I
It was
felt
a good game.
yeah, I felt okay in the end. A little bit of bad luck both ways. I really would have preferred
Yeah.
to not have Serena go down in just a blaze of wastefulness, but it is what it is. Um,
Yeah.
the crit on Slowking, I think, felt more impactful in the moment than it was because of the Lumberry. Even if the yawn got
Yeah.
off, I don't think it would have changed anything. Um,
Yeah.
but it was a fun match. I enjoyed it. I was actually really kind of frustrated in prep because I was like, there was so many different directions I could go, and I just don't build my rosters super defensively. So like if the wrong thing showed up, if Embor was there instead of something else, we would have figured it out, but that would have been challenging.
Yeah. Uh, I think it wasn't our best game, but it was still a pretty fun one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree, and we tend to always have at least pretty close matches. A 2-0, I think's that's pretty solid. Um, and
Mhm.
really, like if you did, crit or kill Melodios in some epic fashion, then Blaziken was dead. So,
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
we really were a turn away, either way.
Yeah.
So the clock was definitely out of time either way.
Yeah. But I feel like we might have another crack at it in playoffs, so
Yeah,
we'll see.
hopefully so. That puts us both
I'm not too
still in.
confident this season.
You're only
Yeah.
3-4, so you're not. You're right there. You're right there. You're one or
Yeah.
two wins away. I'm 5-2, which is fine. That still gives me enough room to have kind of a mid-season collapse and be okay.
Yeah. I think it's a much tighter season this year. Everyone's really bringing their A game,
Yeah, it's a
and
good season.
yeah, it's gonna be quite close for playoffs in the end.
It's a good season. I mean, the difference between like Mogo and Keister is really minimal. I mean, 2 games, and that's from the second seed with a bye week to missing the playoffs by eight eight teams. You know, um,
Yeah.
it's a close season uh, with only really Shadow and Blake. They're not out of it, but they're close to out of it. Um, and
Yeah, and Shadow and Blake having a close season between the two of them as well.
yeah,
So
and Lele 7-0. He's about 2 wins away from um, clinching the playoffs. Used to be 8 wins was enough, but we've seen that it's not. So he's 2 wins away. He's got 5 weeks left to go, so he should be feeling pretty good.
yeah, I think 3 will probably get him a bye just
Yeah,
fine. So it's pretty comfortable.
and that's it. Commissioner Bowl season. What is this? 15? Wow.
Yeah.
All
15 years of knowing each other.
Yeah, 15. I don't know if it's quite 15 years, but yeah, 15 seasons for sure. Too long either way, right?
Yep, 6 years.
All right, man. Well,
All right, man. It's
uh,
been fun as usual.
yeah, it's been fun. I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm sorry it's not the traditional day, but I've got a lot going on in my personal life, so this is all we could do today. But I hope you guys enjoy it.
Yeah.
All
See
right.
you guys.